I'm like, I have truck stop on my left, two dual screen. On my left side, there's a truck stop. On my right side, there's a DAT load board. Back then, I don't know if you heard of this load board called DAT Power Load Board, right? A lot of you, asked for this. Well, is it still available? Yes, it is. By the way, DAT Power is still available. So, well, they changed the name. There's think about new version of a DAT Power, which is DAT1 Select, and they have the classic version, which is actual DAT Power Load Board. So I have these two load boards, top two companies and top two load boards, and I'm like crazy trying to find loads for my 4 trucks. And then there's a guy dispatching about 25 trucks. He's like, he's not even busy. He's relaxed. He's always actually looking at the numbers, looking at the load board, using some of the tools I'll be sharing with you. And by the way, I forgot to mention, if you stick around, I will give you the up-level dispatching course, and I will show you how to get it. And it's absolutely free. A lot of people, if you didn't receive the email, I'll show you how you can get the up-level dispatching, the course that we have, the 5-week course for free. So let's talk about the data-driven dispatcher. Well, this guy, he uses one load board, which is DAT Power. Back then he uses just one, load board, and he's dispatching about let's say 25 trucks. So, and he's not even. Okay, give me a quick second. There you go. Awesome. Cool. Okay, and guys, let your comments come in, and I'll do my best to help with your comments. We will have the Q&A at the end. So basically, I'll be talking about this specific person, and I learned a lot from this guy, and I'm still learning. And he's like dispatching 25 trucks, no problem. But the key here, when we have day off, let's say we off on Saturdays, we have off on Sundays, even in, let's say, Fridays, we go early, right? So we have like 3 days off being as a dispatcher. So there are a lot of dispatchers, they're ready to go, and then a lot of, independent, freight dispatchers as well. So this guy, he's always working, but he's not busy. The thing that imagine guys sitting in an office, it's just like 2 screens. One is basically the load board, and the other one is the US map. That's all, right? That's what he does, and obviously he has some tabs open where he emailing back and forth with maybe shippers, brokers, carriers, whatever. And this guy uses one of the DAT's tools. I'll be sharing with you that tool. DAT Patty says, hello, everyone. Hello, Patty. And by the way, when you ask a question, I will just pull up here, then you can see your questions. I'll let them come in, and if you have questions, I'll do my best, again, help you with your questions. So let's talk about this guy. This guy works in advance. I'll try my best to keep it simple. Well, think about if today is Monday, he started actually working, let's say on Thursday, on Friday, like a past week. So imagine today's a Saturday, right? Tomorrow is a Sunday. And then I'll be booking loads on Monday and Tuesday. So this guy prepares his work today, and he also works on Sunday. But I'm not saying that he comes to the office. Most of the time he works from home, let's say on Saturdays and Sundays. But I know his style of work because I got a lot of training from this guy. And what he does is he prepares in advance. He uses the DAT tools to basically forecast what will happen, on Monday, on Tuesday, on Thursday, on, let's say, on Friday, on Wednesday, and Thursday and Friday. What will happen next week? The even craziest part, that this guy will know what is going to happen, let's say on drive-in, or what is going to happen next week, let's say on Tuesday. Well, again, these are the predictions. He's not 100% accurate, but he got some idea. I'll give you an example. Maybe he can say something like, man, if you have your flatbeds available. And if you are in, let's say, California right now, go to Medford. Like, ask your drivers or let them go, to Medford, because it will be crazy on Monday. 99% of the time, he's right, right? So why is that? And we, part of this 99% of the dispatchers, who just like, let me share what these 99% of the people, meaning dispatchers, carriers dispatching their own loads, owner operators dispatching their own loads. This is how they operate. They have a load board, maybe truck stop, maybe DAT. They'll just log in and, okay, my truck's in Atlanta, Georgia, and I go to Houston, maybe, California, whatever. Let's keep it, simple and say, okay, the lane is from Atlanta, Georgia to Houston, Texas. So then we'll just log in and I'll put something like Atlanta, Georgia, and I'm going to Houston, Texas. Atlanta, Georgia, radius is about 150, maybe 250-mile radius. Then I'll put, okay, my trucks, are going to Houston. And Houston, again, same thing, 150-mile radius or maybe 200, mile radius. That's how we operate. And we click search, all the filtering, let's say 45,000, not more than 45,000 pounds I'm willing to haul. And then I click search. Most of us, 99% of the dispatchers, they work like this, right? It's the same way. It's just like using a load board, specifically origin destination method. That's what people call this. Like these top 1% people call these 99% that, hey, you guys are just origin and destination type of dispatchers. Well, is this effective way of finding loads? Well, I think it's the most popular way or the easiest way to find loads. So this data-driven dispatch is basically using data, meaning numbers, and they're pulling these numbers from tools offered by DAT. Maybe they use third-party other CRMs, maybe other software, other tools. But I think DAT does an awesome job offering these tools, and one of them is a market condition. And obviously they have the new features, and I'll be showing you those features. So that's the data-driven dispatchers. And I also wanted to talk specifically in this video about the mind shift. So if we can't shift the mind from 99% of these dispatchers finding loads, the way they find loads, you never ever will be pro dispatcher or data driven dispatcher. Like, if you don't change, if you're not thinking in terms of numbers when you look at the loads, instead of just looking at the search results, that is the mind shift of a 99%. 99%, like, think about most of the dispatchers, they're looking at the search results, right? Origin, destination, click search, and then they have results, right? They're exact matches or related matches, whatever. But the data-driven dispatcher, this person uses specifically number or the numbers, right? Also, maybe most of you maybe guessed already, like truck to load to truck ratio, how many trucks are being posted, how many loads on a specific lane are being searched. So that's the mind shift. And then let's talk about the strategy. So let me go there and I'll start showing you like how these data-driven dispatchers, using these market conditions. And again, I'll be showing you new features as well that DAT, released. Not many people, maybe not many of you guys know this. I'll be showing you as well. And again, at the end, I'll take questions. And again, if you have, please get them ready. And again, the reason why I'm asking for the questions, I think it's more engaging when you have, let's say, active audience. You have guys asking questions and I'm replying to your questions. And from those questions, actually, I predict, and I said, okay, so if the person asking or actively watching the market conditions, whatever the tools or rate review or DAT trend lines, or the lane makers that I'm showing the numbers, actually teaching them how they can use these tools so they can become a data-driven dispatchers. Well, if you post a question on a specific, for example, I'm talking about the DAT trend lines. If you have specific questions, and I get the idea that okay, these people, well, actually, or most of the people or the audience will love this topic, and then I will be doing more of these videos. So let's go there, and I'll be showing you what I mean by being a data-driven dispatcher. So data-driven dispatcher, specifically this guy that I shared with you at the beginning. So this guy comes in to log in. Obviously, that's the first thing, log in. And most of the dispatchers, what they will do, 99%, first of all, they will go and search loads. That's how they will search the loads. From Atlanta to Houston, Texas, as I said, 250-mile radius. Okay, it's a flatbed, full or partial load. And then this is basically data. Well, what I'll do is, just for example purposes, I'll do like this and click search. So we have about like 160 results, well, exact results, and we have about like 685 similar results. That's how 99% of the dispatchers do. Now we have these, obviously at the top, you can add more, tabs where you can, do more searches. This is what it is. Okay, from California to going anywhere. But the data-driven dispatcher, the first thing he does, that's what I realize, and I'm, sharing with you ins and outs of this. If you can, take notes, that'll be awesome. And by the way, I will keep the recording inside this platform. As you can see, it shows a data-driven dispatcher. This is the training. So it's up here. It's a school.com Dispatch Tracks Academy, and I will include the recording of this inside the classroom. And by the way, since we're here, this is the up-level dispatching course that I was, mentioning. That's the 5-week course. It's here. It's yours. The only thing you need to do is just a free community that you need to join, right? It's not for everybody, but some people, I don't know, like the free information that I'm giving away on YouTube. They find with that, if you're like, hey, I need more in-depth training, you can come up here and then you can learn. How you can join this community for free is going to school.com Dispatch Tracks Academy. So I'll add the recording of this video here on my YouTube channel. So it will be available here. Let's go back. Now, the first thing first, what I realized from this guy, from the data-driven dispatcher, he will first post a truck, right? So I'm not gonna, show you, because on my, YouTube channel did a lot of videos talking about this, how to post a truck on a DAT. Now, first thing first he does, he posts his trucks. Nothing else. The first thing first. Then second, they will go to, right now, on tools, the DAT market condition tool. So he clicks on the DAT market condition tools. This is where the magic happens. I'll give you a scenario. Let's say that your truck's in Dayton, Ohio right now, and you want to, let's say, go to Houston, Texas, maybe California, maybe Colorado, or Louisville, Kentucky, or Atlanta, Georgia, South Carolina, Florida. It doesn't matter. Well, instead of searching actively, let me come back. This is what I mean. Actually, I'm on this page. So what they will do instead, the 99%, they will go and search from Dayton, Ohio, goes to Houston, Texas, or it goes to Charlotte, North Carolina, or Atlanta, Georgia, right? And then we'll start searching lows without doing any market condition searches like data-driven dispatchers do. So, well, this guy goes to the market conditions. Let me share this, tool with you. Well, briefly, how this works. Well, DAT, in my opinion, I should say, my humble opinion, they did a great job. It's still, giving the access, actually, or making available to the dispatchers, to carriers and dispatchers. This tool, think about market research on your fingerprints. Like, this is the easiest way, the simplest way, yet the most effective way doing the market, think about search, market condition search, like within a couple of seconds, right? Since DAT has all the data, again, the numbers that you need, right? So this basically, the map, the US map, gives you where, and again, I'm trying to make it simple that we can all understand how this thing works. It's basically showing you on the map if you are in the Dayton, Ohio, instead of doing the guesswork, you just work smarter, not harder, right? And it broken down into the three major, markets: van market, flatbed, and reefer market. So, and you also have the time frame. I'm not going to go into details like showing you ins and outs of this, but like a main idea here, you have the timeline. Prior 30 days, what happened? Okay, in terms of the market goes, okay, and that's the name comes from, market conditions. What is happening, right? Prior 8 days, prior business day, that means what happened yesterday, which was the Friday. So what is happening today? So let's say you're looking for lows on Wednesday next week. You can do like prior business day, which is Tuesday, and you can also search prior 8 business day. What happened? Why? Well, use data for forecasting. What is going to happen? What's happening right now? Where should I send my trucks? Okay, where are those high-paying loads are? That's what it is, right? So, and again, I'm not going to go into details like talking about what are these colors. You can go to DAT market condition, and you can do more search online. And definitely you can find more information about the colors and how this market condition index works. Now, let's say you are in the flatbed market. Okay, so you wanted to check, let's say, let's do a Houston market. Okay, let's say I want to see what is happening in Houston market. And again, instead of like doing the actual search from Atlanta or from Dayton, Ohio, I want to go to Houston, Texas. Instead of doing that, is basically you want to see how many loads are being posted, or the number of loads are right now, and then how many trucks, right? So think about it. If we have 10,000 loads, and if you have like 200 trucks, the load to truck ratio, it's like unreasonable, right? So you must be there, or your trucks must be there. Let's say in Houston, Texas, the reason why you want to do that is because imagine 10,000 loads are available and then fewer trucks available to haul those trucks. What's happening here? Well, supply and demand, right? Now brokers need your trucks like never before, because the capacity of load, or the number of load, is like 10,000, but the capacity of trucks are limited. There's a 200. Imagine all of these brokers fighting each other, right? Think about the competition these brokers have, in the Houston market. So that's how you do locate the Houston, and then look at the numbers. Plus 100, and there is a market, as I said, the market condition index is basically, these are the colors. Think about if we have the blue color or a dark blue color, think about it's cold. Cold means there are many trucks, less loads, or the number of trucks more than the posted loads or available loads. In terms of numbers, think about we have 10,000 trucks, but we have about 1,000 loads or 2,000 loads. The truck, load to truck ratio, it's off the chart, right? So now carriers basically competing each other to get the load. Why? Now we have too many trucks, less loads. Now this negotiation favor goes to the broker. Think about that way. And again, I'm trying, my best to simplify the process, right? So imagine if you are in right now, let's keep it that way. You are in Dayton, Ohio. So instead of searching, I want to go to Houston and want to see how many loads are available, how much brokers are posting. You simply go and see the load to truck ratio. Now you can see at right side, top right, you can see that there are about 4,000 loads, and then there's like almost 400 trucks. Well, the load to truck ratio, it says 10, meaning for every one truck, there are 10 loads. Although it says very tight, but let me show you something. Let's go to Medford and imagine the Medford. Now, look at this number 201, the load to truck ratio. That means about 3,000 loads, right, out there, and about 13 trucks. Okay. Think about 200 loads for every truck. That was the reason why I said, well, if you have a trucks, let's say in California, send your trucks to Medford, let's say, market, so you can get the best paying loads. Now, what if you wanted to search, let's say, compare two markets side by side? I'm in Dayton, Ohio. I want to go to the Houston, right? So let me, type um, Houston, and then if you wanted to see the side by side markets, let's say if you're in Dayton, Ohio, you want to search Houston, Texas, and let's say Atlanta market. At the right top corner, do you see add a search? You click add a search. What is going to happen now? This tool will, the market condition tool will, split, like now we have a two screen, right? And at the same time, what you can do, you can analyze two markets. Imagine or think that your trucks are in Dayton, Ohio right now, and instead of just searching loads, you're like analyzing, what is possible, what is available to you. It's not about how many loads. Remember the mind shift. It's not about how many loads out there, okay, how much they're paying right now, not the search result driven independent freight dispatchers or dispatchers, data driven dispatchers. Think about instead of thinking that search results, think about in terms of numbers, okay? Because you need to get the best paying loads. Now, let's go to Atlanta market, okay? Whoops. Okay, let's go and do Atlanta. And there you go. Now we have Houston, as you can see, it says very tight. And then we have 97. It also says, very tight. But look at again the number. It's 7.5, and there. What was? I think it was. Let me see. The load to truck ratio in Houston right now is for every truck that I have in Houston. Okay, we have 10 loads available. Well, although it says very tight, but we'll do more, training on this one. It doesn't mean that I can get right away the best paying loads, right? Meaning the load to truck ratio must be higher. And higher the which number? Well, in my opinion, I think it should be more than 20. That's what I realized. So it's like in between like 25 up to like 45 in between. This is where you should need to send your trucks. Okay. So, and then the thing about Atlanta, Georgia right now is, the prior business day, meaning Friday, it was yesterday, it was 7.5. This is where like you can also do prior 30 business day to forecast this. And again, we're going like advanced. I'm like just keeping myself not go to, although I want to really talk about this. And by the way, this tool works perfectly when you do outbound instead of inbound. Inbound means how many loads go into the state. Outbound go like think about in terms of how many loads going out of the state. So in Houston market example right now, the outbound basically it means how many loads are going out of the Houston, Texas. Why and how this information is helpful for you? Well, imagine if there is a good paying load, is an awesome paying load that goes to Florida, okay, Tampa, or think about Savannah, Georgia, from Dayton, Ohio. It pays about $10,000. Just throwing some numbers out there. It's cool. It's about $4 per mile. Let's keep it that way. $4 a mile. It's like a rush load, and you just take that load and run. Right? Guess what? When you go to Savannah market, and you haven't checked the market, like market condition, what's happening there? What was yesterday? What was like about like think about 8 days prior, like what happened in Savannah, Georgia? If I go there right now, can I find loads? It's not, this is a $4 per mile load I want to take and go. Think in terms of when you go to that state, which is Georgia, can you go out quickly? What if you stay there for about 3 days with no loads? Now you're losing money. Now this initial $4 per mile load now became $1.90, and you don't want that. Why? Because trucking is brutally competitive in capital intensive business. You don't want that, right? And carrier will hate this. So this is why you should use market conditions tool, is that you need to kind of forecast and see what will happen, or think about what is happening right now in Houston. If I go there, can I find loads right away? What is the truck load to truck ratio? How many trucks are there right now approximately? Think about in like when we're talking about the, let's say, numbers, think in terms of universally applicable measure. So yes, it's not 100% accurate. I don't think like the data is, in my opinion, not everything is 100%, right? So this is pretty accurate. That means if I use this data and I'm checking the market condition in, like right now in Houston, if I go there, will I find a load quickly? Well, that's yes. Then what would be, can I find good paying loads? What would be the competition among carriers, right? So meaning how many trucks are there right now? So if I check the Houston and I see that there's like 2,000 loads are being posted, but then we have 4,000 trucks right now waiting for a load. And think about, I'll find a load, which is really good load, paying like $3.70 and $4.70 per mile. I'll go there, but then it's a bloody market, right? So, and you don't want to do that. This is one of the reasons why you want to use the market conditions. And by the way, the new feature is basically, one of them is now you can split into like two searches, and you can do like, okay, I want to do Houston. I also want to do Charlotte, North Carolina. Maybe I want to check what is happening in, let's say, Nevada, what's happening in Phoenix, Arizona. Check the markets, and based on that information, you send your trucks. So that's the whole idea, right? As far as new features goes, if you click on 30-day, 30 days prior, 30 days market conditions, what happened, let's say in about 30 days inside Texas, then you can also switch this. If you see this, toggle, and you can see that market condition is a graph, you can see it like this, or you can also do load to truck ratio as a graph, or market condition index graph, or the load to truck ratio graph. I really prefer looking at like a map. I think it's very easy to locate. For example, I do see like red. Let me bring up a little bit. Now I can see that, okay, Georgia, Macon, it's not doing well. Louisiana, Mississippi. Okay, what about Arkansas? I'll click and I see, okay, well, there's a 42. Now look at this number, right? So it's about 1,500 loads, and there are only about 36 trucks. So let me get here and see if you guys have questions. That will be awesome. So why don't we take a couple of questions, and then we'll go from there. So Randy, she asked this question. It's a disgrace what people will do to keep all the money and give the driver nothing. Well, yeah, it's think about in terms of independent freight dispatchers working with the carriers. If you're not doing, if you don't have a process, the vetting process, if you're not doing any background check on your carrier, well, this might happen. And obviously they're brokers, right? We know the fraud is going on right now, the scam is going on right now. Like you have to be like double, triple, make sure that your driver gets paid. Now, that is that. And let me take this question. Superman. Hey, what's up? What's up? So I'm from Uzbekistan. Can I work from here? Can you prepare me? How can I make money? Okay, so the first thing first, obviously, the the challenge with like working internationally, the challenge is accessing the load board. It's very tough if you are outside the US. It's like now even more complicated, and this is one of the reasons why we like primarily wanted to work like people in the States. The reason why, because I don't want you to like, how can I say this? I don't want you to like waste your time. Why? Because you can get trained, you can become a pro dispatcher. You can definitely do that. But then if you don't have access to load boards, like there's no reason to become an independent freight dispatcher. And the reason why I say this is because top load board companies like Truckstop, DAT, they're now they don't give access to international people, right? So meaning if you're outside the US, it seems like you are, it will be very hard to access these load boards. So if you can access load boards, then you can find loads. If you can find loads, obviously, then what's the reason becoming an independent freight dispatcher? Well, on the other, you know, it always, but this is what I'm trying to say. If you wanted to like, hey, I want this skill, it might help me, right? I think it's a good idea to learn this skill, which is it's a lucrative skill to have. It's an awesome tool to have. Learn how to find lows using tools. As you can see, it's not easy. One of my friends, when I started, explaining this, and he got the whole idea how this thing works. First, I started talking about being an independent freight dispatcher. He thought like, oh wow, that's easy peasy. But then when I went into the details, sharing like this is the tool that you need to use. This is how it works. Then if something happens, this is how you handle. And it's like, man, it's a crazy. Well, independent freight dispatching is there's no difference between other businesses. Like it's a business opportunity. It's not something like it's a gig online where you have this the project moving trucks around the country and using a load board. Even accessing a load board right now, it's not easy. So hope that helps. And let me take this question. Hey Kamal, hey, does this map differ depending on origin, or that across the state? Depend on origin or that across the state? Not exactly sure about your question. If you can rephrase, that will be awesome. And then reason is because my English is my third language. Maybe that's why. Does this map differ depending on origin or that cross state? Not sure. I tried, but if you can rephrase, that will be awesome. It's hot area mean going there will be probably a cheaper load to get there. Brokers know it is hot area. Well, let me say this way. Hot means there are too many loads. Think about it, 10,000 loads. Let's keep it that way. It's like let's make things like dramatic. Then 10,000 loads, and then we have about 500 trucks. Imagine now is like you have, let's call, you have about 50 loads or 60 loads for every single truck. Let's say that way. It's the more loads you have, obviously it's better. And if you have more loads, less truck, this is where you need to be. That's the tight market or the hot market, right? The red means hot or tight market. So too many loads, less truck. It's supply demand, right? There's too many loads out there, less trucks. It's now brokers competing with each other to get every single trucks that are available because there are too many loads has to move. Okay, hope that helps. Then loose market, when there's too many trucks, now it's vice versa, right? There's too many trucks, less loads. Now carriers fighting with each other to get that load. Now instead of 60 loads for every truck, now we have about 2-3 loads for every truck. 10,000 carriers and there's 500 loads. Imagine, all right? It's like they're competing with each other, meaning carriers. Okay, well, obviously, dispatchers. Now, very informative. LL says, great, awesome. Patty says, how do I get it set up? Patty, if you're still watching, if you're right now, you're here, please let me know. What do you mean when you say how get it set up? You mean load board? What is it? How to get set up with the carrier? Just let me know. Let's, okay, DAT is asking for my MC and authority. Oh, there you go. Now you're trying to sign up for a DAT. Okay, guys, for those of you watching right now, and again, if you have questions, please let me know. I'm here. I'll be taking your questions. So in order to access the DAT specifically, you must be in the States, right? In the United States. You must be a U.S. resident, okay? You must have your LLC set up in the U.S. Then you must have a carrier. That means you must have a dispatcher carrier agreement signed by your carrier in order to access the load board. Easy. So if you're outside the U.S., now it's almost impossible to get access to the load board. There are other free load boards out there you can use, but if you have a carrier that you work with, then he can give you access, or maybe the brokers that you have, they have their own load boards, right? So now you think about working, instead of being an independent freight dispatcher, now you're becoming basically an employee working for a US-based company. But you can do remotely, right? You can definitely do that. But if you wanted to start your dispatching business outside, this is where it gets tricky. Okay. So for those who are in the state, you have to be U.S. resident. You must have a physical address. You must have your LLC set up in the States. And obviously, fourth, you must have a carrier. Yeah. Well, people maybe you guys have a question like, hey, like, if I don't have, well, think about it this way. Let me make it simple. If you don't have a carrier, you don't need load board. Like, what's the purpose, right? When we started talking about, when DAT started putting these restrictions, we started talking about this because there are a lot of international students. They wanted to learn, right? So they wanted to do business, and they're like, man, what's the point if they don't have a carrier? So you must have a carrier, then they will give you the access, right? Hey, I have a carrier, give me the access. It's easy peasy. Like, if you don't know how to get a carrier, and again, as I said, join the free community that we have, and we do these Q&A calls, and we also do coaching calls. Do you want to show you? Let me do this instead of going there back and forth. Let me do this. And then there you go. You can find that information right there. Now, that is that. By the way, Patty, great questions. Okay. Yes, Patty, only carriers and brokers can register, so you need an active MC. Okay, so if you're an independent freight dispatcher, that's the difference between a carrier and an independent freight dispatcher. You do not need, technically, well, yes, the DAT requires an MC number and DOT number in order to access. But if you don't want to become a carrier, this is what you need to do. You need to find a carrier. So I'll be serving this carrier. He has an MC, active MC. He has a DOT, and I need an account. Then, using this carrier, you will get an account. That's how it works. Okay. So if you like, well, as he says, yes, brokers and carriers need MC in order to access, and you need an MC and DOT, then partially agree. Brokers and carriers, they have MC, DOT, they have no problem to accessing. For example, carriers, no problem. But if you're an independent freight dispatcher and you want to access the load board, you don't need to have MC and DOT. Well, if you apply for MC and DOT, well, you're becoming a carrier. Now you need to buy a truck, right? So you don't need to do that. You find a carrier and then use your carrier. Cool. I think, Patty, I already took your question. That's how you set up. And Ernst says, hello, Kamal. Hey, how you doing? I remember you still. Let's take a look. You need to get a client carrier, register, and you will use it from them. There you go. Now I agree with you. So, Abu, are you on the community chat? Well, this is what the people mean when they say community chat. Let me show you. This is the community. Let me show you. See this? Now, this is what's happening right now. We have about like 358 members right now. So, and again, this is the link how you can join. And again, there's a pending request. If you recognize your name, then that will happen. And again, see, it comes from YouTube, right? So that is that. And again, once you join, you come to Classroom, and this is where the up-level dispatching program is. Let's come back. Let's take your questions. So far, so good. You guys getting value out of this? It's awesome. Do you guys want me to do like more of these type of training? Just let me know. Now, Ahmed says, brother, can we get a dispatch sales in such a bad market? Dispatch sales in such a bad market? Well, when we need to define this bad market. Maybe you're talking about the economy being, we got that, right? So then can you make a sell, meaning can I get a carrier set up? Is that what you're saying? We do, to answer that question, we do every morning on TikTok. You can search Dispatch Trucks. We do live, and I'm going over the load board, looking for loads, and helping carriers kind of locate using these tools. And obviously, creating content. There are a lot of carriers out there like never before. They're asking for dispatching help. Right after the live session on TikTok, we get about like 30, 40 people asking like, hey, can you dispatch? I have a box truck. I have a Sprinter van. I have a flatbed. I have a drive-in. I have 4 trucks. I have 10 trucks. I've been in business for 20 years. I've been in business for 6 months or something like that, right? So there are a lot of carriers out there asking for help. The only thing is, do you do your marketing correctly? Do you, put out the content out there and show people that you can? Imagine how many people, like 10 people watching right now, this, and then imagine how many people will be watching later, right? Average about like, let's say 5,000 people watching the live in about, let's say 30 days, 90 days, 5,000 people. Imagine 5,000 people and 10% of that. And imagine, I'm like, 10%, I mean, let's say this, 10 people watching right now. What if 50% of you right now, you are guys carriers? Maybe you're an owner operator, maybe you're a carrier. Guess what? You're not producing content, I'm producing content. So who do you think these carriers will trust? Well, they clearly see that I have a knowledge in trucking. They clearly see that I can navigate online using these like load boards, know the data. I'm like a data-driven dispatcher. Who do you think they pick? See? Not like the content is everything. Now that is that. And let me take this. I mean, if Texas is hot and many loads there, brokers will post any loads going there for cheap rate, right? They won't be posting. They already posted. So the DAT market conditions tool basically pulls the number of loads that already been posted. Okay, so they will post a load, and if they wanted to post and they see that there is like a less loads, but there are too many trucks out there, they post for less. Okay, let me give you an example. I know kind of this is where I'm like, man, I'm pausing and I'm like trying to make it simple because yes, I know it's kind of confusing. Imagine in Houston, Texas right now, there are 10,000 loads, okay, moving out of a Texas, and there are only 500 trucks. We have 10,000 loads, and we have about like 500 loads to pull that capacity, 10,000, right? So imagine less trucks, brokers compete with each other to pay more per load to attract carriers. Okay? Hope that makes sense. Now, if they wanted to post another load in Houston in this market, hot market, tight market, if they wanted to post another load, they'll be posting even for more, meaning per mile. So there is no way for them to post if the average lane is, let's say, $3.50 per mile. Broker just cannot. It's impossible to post a load under $2, right? They can't. Why? Because they have too many loads that has to move, and then they have only 500 trucks to move this capacity. They're competing with each other. Is that cool? Is that clear? Now, think about now we have 1,000 trucks, or think about 2,000 trucks in Houston right now, but there are only 200 loads available. Now, carriers, meaning dispatchers / carriers, they're fighting with each other to pick a load and go. Why? Because there are less loads. Now, this is a loose market. Okay? 2,000 trucks, 200 loads available. So we have only 200 loads, but 2,000 trucks. Loose market. If a broker wants to post a load in this market, definitely is going to post less than $2. Why? Well, because they're already carriers competing with each other because not enough loads to move. That means carriers will agree whatever you're giving to them. That's what's happening most of the time right now. Like if you're not a data-driven dispatcher, that's the whole idea of this live stream. If you're not a data-driven dispatcher, then you're losing a lot of money on the table. If you're a carrier / dispatcher, hope that helps. Now, so Ahmed says, "What is your free community? I want to join." The free community, there is a link. See that? There is a school.com / Dispatch Trucks Academy. Now, let me take this. Kamal, I send multiple requests to your school community, but I always get rejected. And again, guys, for those of you watching right now, if you're outside the US, that's what the moderator's being told. Obviously, if you're outside, then we don't want you to waste your time, because we'll be teaching like load board and all stuff, then you can't get access to it. So that's the main reason why international, people they can't access the community. Well, you can definitely access the community aspect, but not the training, I think. But I will, make sure. So that is that. This is simply put, supply and demand rule in the market. More supply than demand, lower price, and opposite. That's it. Right on the money. So, and again, I said, for those of you, that was my promise. If you stick to the end or close to the end, and again, I'm still here. If you have questions, let me know. How to get independent freight dispatching course that I have. If you guys need this is where you need to be right now. It's the community that I have for dispatchers, for brokers, and carriers. This is it. And once you join this, I'll see the membership request, like how many people are requesting to join. And you come here when you join. It's a free community, right? But it's closed community. So there's a classroom. You come up here, and this is the training. This is the 5-week training, and all of the content is here for you. Okay? So starting with the welcome, is absolutely free. There are members. How many people? And let me see. There are about 360 members that already taking this.